All right, cyber traders, welcome on back to close out the show for this week, this Friday, January 28th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Great to see Bill, great to see Michael, great to see my Italian friend Andrea, of course, as always. Buongiorno. Great to see Will, Chuck, Leda, loud and clear as always from all of us at least. So great to hear the audio is good. We had a couple of tech issues at least earlier on this morning, well, myself in particular. So, I've overcome those issues, folks, and we're going to talk all about that actually coming up later on this afternoon. Well, really shortly from now at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Phase 2 class, lesson number 4. We're going to be talking all about studying and planning ahead, just as far as how you can gain confidence with taking trades in the heat of the moment. We were talking about it from the beginning of phase 2 of, how to take the emotion away from trading. Well, part of that is studying the past, studying your trades, not just journaling, not just the annoying aspect of journaling, right? But it's a step up from that. So, Rich is going to post the link for that coming up pretty shortly in the chat board. If you want to just jump in early, just make sure that you're squared away with the audio and tech and all of that. I'll be joining that class as soon as we finish up this meeting here. So, without further ado, let's hop right into it. The Neo trade is just on the screen to begin. Just a sideless stock, really, that's all. I am in one trade right now, and we're going to cover this trade at least, in the afternoon class. That's AMC, and not just, what's happening live right now, but really, I mean, from the morning, we talked about AMC a little bit, but after we finished up class, I went right back at it. On my tech issues, I overcame that, and I finished, just the market open was choppy. That caused my screen to lock up. So once I came back from class, things were squared away. I was good to go, at least with my TradeStation platforms. So I felt confident enough to take some trades throughout the day. I was talking to a couple of students throughout coaching and chatting with some of us here live, like Felix, going over these entries. And I'll look to share them with you folks coming up this afternoon, and we'll look to study them as far as why I took them, how we could gain confidence with taking similar patterns like like what we had here on AMC. So I still have half of a position left on this trade. I took out, half earlier at 14.55. I'm originally in from 14.90. So, little profit for the afternoon. We'll go over the position heading into the class. But AMC for right now, maybe we'll come back to this stock at the very end of it all. Just because I'm in it doesn't mean I'm gonna put it on the main watch list. I could put a whole slew of different shortable stocks on our watch list for the afternoon if the markets continue to fall off the way they are. So, we'll check in with the side list stocks at the end. The IMMP to begin, so we'll go right from top to bottom. Otherwise, I don't have as much time to do a fancy review, at least, of a stock like this IMM or IMPP trade, I should say. There's a different stock, I think, IMMP, but this one here ended up making a good pop, pullback. The important note here is that 245 was a key level from the market open. That continued to be a huge level throughout the mid to late morning, heading into even right now. It's pretty choppy and, just not really doing a whole lot here for the meantime this afternoon, but I don't know. I mean, we'll keep this on our side list as well. If we feel a need to come back to this stock later in the afternoon, then we will. But I feel like a stock like this already makes a big move up and down. It doesn't make as clean of a big move back up later on. Just take a look at this KSCP trade. Ended up coming out of really nowhere. Ended up opening up pretty sharply, or rather, actually, that was pre-market, right? That was pre-market. I forgot. That ended up pumping up, then coming all the way back down, and that was prior to even 9:30, the market open. So such an ugly trade. You do not expect this to make the type of run that it made, but we're happy to take it, right? We ended up calling this out after the class. Rich was calling this out in my absence as it was beginning to break above 750 and then eight bucks from there. Ended up making a huge run, I guess a new IPO, right? Nightscope. I think we had some news out on this on this company earlier today, but ended up leading to a huge run right back on up. For right now, though, it looks like it built just like a giant like pennant. You could say even like a bearish Fausto flag. Ended up pulling right back down as it broke under 1150 support. So yeah, I mean, for right now, this is just a tradable, or this is just a really volatile stock. I don't know if it's going to be tradable heading into the close, just looking at the spread as it fluctuates. So, again, we'll come back to this if we need to. It's moving around quite a bit, so it could offer us a good dollar if support could hold. grab my water bottle here. It's been a long week of talking. I normally don't have the phase 1 and 2 classes all lumped up in a week, right? We actually had to do that just based around Martin Luther King last weekend, and then phase 3 to catch up at least next week with Fausto. But the Dave trade right now as we continue to go. So yeah, ended up popping just before, dropping right back down. It actually broke over the high from this past week, right? Ended up breaking it right above like 10.90ish, $11 there. Man, this is a really interesting trade. I mean, interesting in the sense of the chart. The order book is much thinner than even what we just had on the KSCP trade. I'd rather trade KSCP. All right, so we'll pass on this for right now, this Dave trade. TKLF, I botched this trade earlier today. I had some egg on my face, and I have no problem showing that. But it goes to show I'm not perfect, right? For the AMC trade, I did well on this afternoon. I sure fumbled the bag on this TKLF, stock. I ended up having such a sweet entry point, like the perfect entry, and I went against my first instinct. We talked about that, pretty thoroughly throughout the phase 2 course earlier this morning. Never go against your first instinct, folks. It's easy to say here and easy to say in hindsight, of course, right? So, just we always have to reassure ourselves of that. As long as we're following what we should be, then trust your first instinct. There wasn't a reason for me to get out when I really did. I pulled the trigger way too early. I had my stop set, so ended up missing out on a huge run up after. For right now, the stock's really flat here for the afternoon. PRVB, proverb, I guess we'll call it. I don't know. Ended up making a bit of a move up earlier today from 370 and grinding on up to make a HOD right around 429, 430. And I guess you can call it maybe a double bottom here. It's beginning to push back up ever so slightly. I'll slip this one on our watch list here. I mean, I'm kind of like at the bottom of the barrel. I feel like just adding this to our list. This is the first stock on our main watch list so far for this afternoon. I mean, the other part of it is that it's also shortable. So God forbid if this does make a false run up here or false breakout later on, perhaps we could short it on the way down should that happen. But for right now, hopefully this continues to make a nice push back up to make a new high. VCNX, this stock's too slow. All right, so we'll kind of just skim through. Otherwise, it's a Friday, so there's not a whole lot out there coming off the Fed meeting just throughout the week too. So unless if the markets continue to either drop off or hold strong here and make a really strong bounce back up, unless if that's the case, then it might just be a really flat afternoon, folks. Might be a great time to take class. This Archon stock, I guess it's trying to go up a little bit there. I'll check back in with that one if I need to at the end of the meeting. The root stock, same thing here. Not a whole lot happening. Bed Bath Beyond had a nice day today. It was up like over 12%. I saw earlier, still up over 9. Still could be a pretty tradable stock. I mean, it's shortable too, much like the PRVB. So, if anything, I don't mind adding a stock like BBBY here to our list for right now. Just tradable. It's up big. I don't know what the news is. If there's any news on it, maybe this is just having a much better day performing against the SPY so far. Maybe like some sort of short squeeze. I apologize for not knowing the news, folks, but we'll check back in on this trade later on in class, and we'll perhaps even go over the news. We talked about news throughout the phase 1 course and how really we like to know what the news is, but it's not a main driving factor for me to risk my money at a certain price or time. So. We'll look at the news coming up on that stock. TGTX, for as much as this dropped off yesterday, I guess it was trying to push up earlier. It stopped trying just a moment ago here, and not a whole lot happening right now on this one. All right, so let's hop over to the losers list here for the meantime. I'm still in on my AMC short as I have it on my heat map here, my book map page. That's beginning to pull back. There's an iceberg on the bid for AMC. I'm still not putting that on the main list just yet, but AMC has an iceberg order on the bid at 1420, just so you know. So, all right, let's hop over to the loser side for right now. I did notice DOYU in pre-market as a shortable stock. It ended up dropping off pretty nicely upon the open. I didn't really follow it much after the open, but could have been a good opportunity there. Fausto had the QRTEA trade on there on the watch list. I mean, this was shortable. It was down a lot more in pre-market. So this actually made a pretty decent dead cat bounce as it ended up moving back up pretty nicely from that 550 or 580ish that is up towards just right around 650, 654. Let's see what else is out there for right now, folks. Just a whole lot of shortable stocks here. I mean, they're down big. Market dropped off earlier. I see the SPY trying to inch back up here for right now on my 5-minute. We'll talk a little bit Bitcoin here at the end of the meeting. I told you folks just from Wednesday that I'm going to try and do away with these Monday, Wednesday, Friday crypto meetings and just do my own videos every week. We're going to do that at some point soon. I just wanted to leave you off with a little Bitcoin heading into the end of the week for right now, at least. Lucid down big. Hard to borrow my platform, but it might be shortable in yours if you're on IB or TAS or Webull. Kind of same line of thinking as Bed Bath Beyond. Bed Bath Beyond was up what, like 9.5, 10%. Just a tradable stock. Nothing special about it. It wasn't at the highs. This isn't. Well, this is actually a lot closer to the lows than Bed Bath is at the highs. Actually, it's been flat the last 20 or so minutes, 25 minutes. But hey, if it's shortable on your platform, give it a shot. This could be a pretty interesting trade to go with the market too. This Lucid Motors trade. I keep calling it Lucid Motors, the Lucid Group. I think they changed their name maybe 4 months ago. I haven't gotten Motors out of my head, Lucid Motors, but. All right, folks, I think that's all you got from me across the gainers and losers lists here. Norman says the chip stocks are starting to fall off. So, yeah, I mean, right now, and that was a comment from maybe 2 minutes ago. Oh no, like 4 minutes ago. So, now the SPY is trying to inch back up, as I just said. You might get a small bounce for right now. So if there is anything else, folks, that looks good just in either direction, shortable, moving up to the highs, perhaps. I don't think there's many of those, but if there's anything, just let me know in the chat boards across YouTube or Facebook, or of course for all of us, in the live trading room. And perhaps maybe I can try and kill some time here. In the meantime, maybe I pull up a little Bitcoin, do that, and then I'll jump back to the chat boards, actually, see if there's anything that makes a big pop or drop just as I go. All right, let me make sure my charts here are good first. I'm on Trading View right now. I think I'm on my account here, not the guest one. All right, so we ended up seeing Bitcoin really just do a whole lot of nothing, consolidation really over the last 24 to 36 hours, just kind of in this range. I'm on my 1 hour chart here. This is TradingView. I like to show Binance normally, and Binance has the 6 hour chart. They have the 4 hours, so I'll jump to that in a second. But otherwise, just some consolidation for right now. Not a whole lot to write home about in either direction. So we're just going to wait it out. The bigger talking point that I want to go over, though, is not necessarily Bitcoin, but it's more so the other coins that are out there, the alts out there, like Ethereum, of course, at first. We were talking about this just back from 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, even. One of us had mentioned, hey, Ethereum looks really strong in relation to Bitcoin, or at least that they had said that it looks strong. And I said, let's look at the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart, and we'll just check it out. And I said, if it fails to break higher strongly on the weekly at the time, then be on the lookout. We might happen to see a reversal, and not just on Ethereum. That actually leads me to the Bitcoin dominance chart. I happen to show this not too often, but I've shown this in the past every now and then. This is basically the chart where you can compare Bitcoin's relationship to the other altcoins as a whole. So it's called Bitcoin dominance. BTC.D is the ticker on TradingView. But, it ended up essentially bouncing really nicely right off of critical support, not just horizontal support, back from 2018, but also pretty interesting. We had a little bit of a trend here that built off the lows and, just was semi holding around here to a degree, if you can look to envision it. Not the cleanest, but, to a degree, that's a major support, and it ended up beginning to spike right back on up. And this is just over the last 2 to 3 weeks, really, right? Back from mid-January. So about 2 weeks now at this point. So that's a pretty big talking point. You want to follow this BTC.D chart if you're looking to trade any sort of altcoin, whether it be Ethereum or Cardano that I love, Phantom also that I love, Avalanche, Solana. I know that Solana took a huge hit, Luna took a huge hit just over the last 2 days. There's some huge scandals happening out there, like within the DeFi market. That's what it is. So not all of these altcoins per se, but a couple blockchains that provide access to these, DeFi coins that aren't as accessible. Some crazy stuff happening out there over the last 2 days with like rug pulling and all of that. So, obviously that gives a bad look to the entire market. So that's one thing to look at, but otherwise, yeah, just with Bitcoin, not a whole lot to write home about, but the alts the alts have been dropping off pretty steadily for a little bit. Chuck asking, how do you like that Trading Light website that you profiled in the Bitcoin video from the weekend? Oh, I love it. I'm going to start using that more, Chuck, in those videos too. That was the debut that I kind of had with Trading Light, showing it on, these types of meetings or videos. So yeah, I like it. It's a little different to maneuver compared to Bookmap. It's actually a little, in my opinion, a little rougher to operate, so to say, like the heat map, but it's still very usable. Of course, it provides like the exact type of data as Bookmap does. It's the same exact purpose, but a little tougher to manually operate. And I'll get the hang of it though. It's just I've been only using it for like a month and a half. Jason, I'll talk to you more about that just in private chat. I'm just going to finish up this meeting here in a second, and same to be said for Bill. Folks, if there's anything else, just let me know. We have Dan on YouTube joining us here live, just asking about the Dave trade. He's saying sorry if we've already covered it. Joining late. Wow, this stock ended up making a higher high, huh? We talked about it early when it was pushing up towards 13, but it was beginning to pull back. And at the time, I was saying, we'll just like keep this on our side list, or maybe come back to this at the end if we need to. So I appreciate you bringing this one up, Dan. So yeah, timely call out, Dave. Not Dave and Buster's, just Dave. All right, folks, I think that just about wraps it up for me here, at least for this meeting and for this week. Not necessarily if you're joining me in class coming up in the next 18 or so minutes. So Rich will post the link one more time coming up pretty shortly. But just again, make sure you click that link for any of my Phase 2 students that have access. We'll begin that class coming up right at 3:05 Eastern. For Dan and for all of us in YouTube or Facebook Live joining me across social media, I appreciate you folks sticking with me each and every day, each and every afternoon, and for the whole week. So, folks, have a great weekend. We'll catch back with everyone on Monday on the social streams there. But for all of us live inside the trading room here, I'll post the list coming up pretty shortly, and Rich will jump on the mic right at 3 p.m. Eastern. Talk to you soon. Take care.